Hello and welcome back to the Wrexham Way. Hope you're all doing well. Looking forward to today's video, the transfer special. The transfer special before we head in to the Premier League. I mean, this is, so exciting. I think the first transfer window of your first season in a top domestic flight, when you get given quite a nice budget, we've got 30 million to spend this summer. I think it's one of the best times you can have in Football Manager. It's just a lot of fun. So before we head into today's video properly, a couple of things to talk about. First of all, I do apologise and thank you for your patience for not many videos last week. A bit of a weird week last week for me, and then ended up having quite a long weekend away spontaneously, which was very, very nice to have some time off and, you know, not think about anything and stuff like that. So that was really good, and I feel recharged and ready to get back to normal scheduling this week. Although today's video is not really sticking to the normal 8 PM schedule if it's gone out as intended at an earlier time of about 5 PM UK time. That is because tonight it is the first night of the FM Streamer Showdown. Of course, we do these Twitch competitions, me and other Football Manager creators. The Showdown is back for this weekend. So tonight is Wednesday, it's the draft, and I'm picking my best Premier League team, essentially, or, you know, we're drafting Premier League players for a team of 18 to then play in the competition this weekend. So that's all on Twitch. If you want to tune into that one, please feel free to do so. Link down in the description to twitch.tv/TomFM. I'm taking part against some of your favourite Football Manager creators, Lelujo, Work the Spaces there, amongst other people as well. So plenty of guys there. Kicks off at 7 PM tonight, I believe. So if you're around at that time, feel free to come along. And also, we are talking about transfer specials, aren't we? And, you know, a player that we signed today could be the future of the club. They could be one of our greatest ever players in Football Manager. Much like this guy was one of our best ever players in Football Manager. This is a beautiful poster of Jan Cavalcanti that I've been gifted by Sweet Left Foot, who is another Football Manager content creator, but he's got a little company that he's made called Full Time Prints, and you can get prints of your favourite Football Manager stuff, just like this, made for you. It comes with a frame. I don't know why I said for you. It's like, not going to get it for anyone else, are you? Anyway, these prints are fantastic. Mike's put a lot of effort into these, and they are really, really top quality. And we've got Jan Cavalcanti now immortalised forever in poster form, which is good. So I'm going to hang this in the background behind me at some point. If you want to grab one, I will leave some links down in the description for you guys to check out and get your own ones made. Also, so we are 100% clear this time, this one is an ad. Anyway, let's now jump into the gameplay and a few things that have happened since you guys were last here, a few notable things since our promotion by finishing second in the championship table. The 95 points that we scored is, well, at least in this game, I'm not quite sure if it's true in real life, but since the save file has started, it is the most amount of points scored by a team who then haven't gone on to win the league title. I mean, how frustrating is that? So I'm very pleased with our 95 points, but obviously Bournemouth had an absolutely blinding season to beat us to the title. Also, we did have some planned stadium expansion. I did think this would come in automatically at the end of the season, but it has been blocked because apparently the council don't like it or something like that. So I'm not entirely sure. We've got a capacity of 28,000, but if it's not going to be expanded, I think sooner rather than later a new stadium could be built and hopefully named after me. However, there are some works going on at the stadium, and that is an underfloor heating to make sure we can play games in the middle of winter. So that'd be quite handy for the club, although it's going to cost us £2 million, which is quite a lot of money. Speaking of money, apparently we are attracting interest for a takeover, which would be very, very nice because the current board are pricks, basically. They don't really like me and they don't like giving me stuff. So it'd be quite nice if we could have a few more owners or different owners coming to the club and give us a bit more money. And then I think there's a few player announcements as well. First of all, Thad Davies is a fantastic player and has just won League 2 Player of the Year at Newport County, which is phenomenal. Really good season for him to see him developing so well. And also, Josh Tyman has broken several average ratings and assist records for the Championship too. The highest average rating ever in the Championship, at least in this save file. And also has got the most assists, at least in this save file, beating Christian Pavon's 17 in 2025. So a good season for Josh Tyman. And of course, as you would expect, because of that, he did feature in the Championship Players Team of the Year. He's in there alongside Willy Camboila, George Webster, and Gaston Andreucci in goal, who is somehow in there. On paper, still a terrible keeper. In reality, a very, very good keeper. And now that's all done and dusted, we can actually get on with the transfer special and signing some players. And I've got a post-it note here with different positions and roles that I think we need to sign. Now, briefly, at the end of last episode, I went through the team and said, this is our strongest team right now, and here are some gaps in the team and where I think we need to sign some players. I have finalised that and whittled it down to, I think, 4 essential players and maybe 3 more positions that we could do with a bit of strengthening in. I think the biggest gap we have right now is in our defence. Our only 2 centre-backs we currently have on the books at the club are Adam Thomas-Parry and Oliver Street, and whilst I think they could both do a very good job in the Premier League, Oliver Street I think does get done a little bit dirty. He has a quite low star rating from the scouts and coaches, but if we actually compare him with Adam Thomas-Parry, if I can end up finding him on this long list of players, down here a little bit, Thomas-Parry, you can see that actually they are very, very similar players, and Adam Thomas-Parry gets all the plaudits and 3.5 stars of coach reports, whereas Oliver Street doesn't get quite as much plaudits, and he only gets 2.5 stars of coach reports. Now, bear this in mind, because Oliver Street does need a new contract. It's coming to expiry in a month's time. The thing is, we're now in the Premier League, we can offer more wages, and he knows that. Offer a new contract to him, he wants to be an important player. Squad player is kind of what I want him to be, if I'm honest with you. He's locked in, no-nonsense centre-back too, which is annoying, because that's not going to happen. Regular starter, he doesn't like squad play. He accepts regular starter. That's not really going to be something for him. And then he wants 16 grand a week. That would make him one of the highest earners at the club by a long stretch. And I'm not sure I'm prepared to pay that sort of money for him, because he's not going to get any better at 23 years old. Maybe a little bit, but nothing major. And so, although he's helped us get to the Premier League and he's been a great asset to us, I just don't feel comfortable giving him this sort of money. When, if we compare it to other players, for example, we know Rebergen's on £19,000 a week on loan from Man United, confirmed. He's back again for this season. Andrei is on 13 grand. He'd be the highest earning player that we'd actually own at the club. And I don't think that is right, because he won't be starting this season. So although I'd love to keep him as a backup player, I cannot justify his wages. I know we can afford the wages, but I can't justify it. I want to try and keep things as low as possible. So for me, this might be the end of Oliver Street at the club, which is a big shame, but he's a great player, and he's helped us up massively to get to where we are right now. I can't seem to get rid of him from the team sheet. There we go, he's gone from the team sheet now. So what this means is, we only have 1 centre-back on the books, probably. So we need to sign at least 3. We also have some holes in the centre of midfield. Now, Galbraith is a decent centre mid, but we could be doing better. We've got Satura and we've got Hikaru in there as playmakers, but neither of them are really cut out for the Premier League. So I think we need a playmaker coming in and a box-to-boxer coming in. That is exactly what I think we need this season. So essentially the 4 main positions that we need to bring in: 2 centre-backs, probably 3, and 2 centre mids. At the absolute minimum, they have to be coming in. After that, I think we could be doing with maybe a right back and a left back. Timon is fantastic. Corialton has not quite developed as much as we would have wanted him to, and is not ready for Premier League football should we get a big injury to Timon. So a left back would be quite nice. Dylan is great. However, we have Pol as well, and as much as Pol's a great player, he might be more suited to the centre-back role, potentially, if his heading was better. So there's an option to make him more of a centre-back, / maybe even sell him, and then try to bring in another right-back. So I'm kind of thinking that's what we need to be looking at: the spine and the wing-backs. But of course, this is one of my transfer specials. We can plan and plan and plan, but sometimes these things never quite come off. Although today's different, because I do actually have a plan, if I'm honest with you. I've got a plan. It's a good plan, I think. So 30 million to spend. We've got about £200,000 spare in wage budget as well. Let's get some players signed. So before we try to sign anyone in today's episode, I'm here to tell you that actually I've already made a signing. I had to act really quickly because loads of clubs were interested, bigger than us, but we secured our man. We've got a new playmaker coming in this season already. So welcome Miguel Augusto Herrera. He is here, ready to sign for us on the 9th of June. It's currently the 1st of June because I want to try and get some free contracts offered out to some players as soon as I possibly can. Willy Cambuala is the man I want to do it on, and I can do it today on the 1st of June, so I want to try and take advantage of that by getting it done immediately and hoping that he signs for us immediately before other clubs try and sniff around for him. So Herrera will join us on the 9th when the transfer window opens, but we had to move quickly to sign this guy for 1.2 million, rising to 1.5 million. He came up on some scout reports looking really solid, and I think AC Milan, Juventus, and I want to say like an MLS team, but it could be a Premier League team. I've got a screenshot. It is Sheffield United, and New England Revolution, who were interested in him. So we did very well to sign him ahead of those clubs who didn't make the bid because the transfer window isn't open. So we got very lucky that he's agreed to sign us and hopefully is going to be a star player in the midfield. Physicals, maybe nothing to write home about, but the technicals and the mentals to me look absolutely superb, and I think he'll be absolutely pivotal in trying to stay up this season. So we already have one signing coming into the club. Let's talk about Willy Cambuala. We're going to try and sign him on a free transfer as an important player. I think this would be a great move for the club and for him as well. If we could just get him to be a regular starter instead, he's happy with that. Excellent. The contract's big though. This is what we're going to have to combat this season. Obviously, most of our players are on loads less than 10 grand a week. We have to get out of that mindset now that we have to start paying players big. And so Willy Cambuala is probably going to be one of those first players on a big contract when he signs for us. We will try and bring it down to, let's try and go 12.5 just to feel a bit more reasonable. Maybe move the signing on fee up to £500,000 and of course bump the agent fee up to as high as it will go just for the sake of getting his agent to say, "Oh, I'm getting a payday. Please sign the contract, Willy." Hopefully that'll be nice. And it's things like appearance fees and clean sheet bonuses which are going to really drive me up the wall today as well. I know that for sure, but we're going to have to be able to put these things up a little bit, which is frustrating. Relegation release fee clause, I think we keep it in there because if we do get relegated, that's a lot of money to garner, but I think it will keep him happy, especially if we get rid of that unused substitute fee. Maybe 10 million, he might accept that. Suggest these terms then. Of course, he has rejected it. We thought that might happen to me. Well, I thought it might happen. 15 grand a week then. Let's go to that. Appearance fee 6. Relegation release fee clause 8.5. Let's suggest that. He's agreed to it. That's reasonable. For a free transfer, we're going to have to pay more in bonuses and wages. We're going to have to do that because it's a free transfer. Let's get him in. Hopefully he signs up to us. I would also love to fill the box-to-boxer role with George Webster once again, who is listed for 26 million. Is that the case? Because I won't buy him for 26 million because he's got a release fee clause of 26 million. Wages is 39 to 54k per week though. Now George Webster, my plan was to get him back on loan this season. But we can't do that yet because of weird loan rules and regulations. But £26 million is the release fee clause. I think it'd be stupid to spend 26 of our £29 million on him. Would they accept 10 million? No. Okay, well, I think we try and loan Webster again. But given that he's listed and is very valuable and got lots of potential, we might be missing out on him. Anyway, as 7 players are called up to the European Championships under 21 championships, which is very good for us, to be fair, to have all of these players playing at various different countries, which is brilliant. We do need to talk about today's episode. And, you know, a normal TomFM transfer special is filled with panic and dread. But today, we've got a plan. I've known very early on what positions I want to fill. And I tell you what, I think we're going to fill them pretty quickly. I have a list of players here who I am pretty certain I am desperate to sign for the club. Now, Herrera is already coming to the club, which is fantastic. But there are 3 centre-backs here, actually, and we could be doing with 3 centre-backs, which would be quite nice. I'm still kind of looking for midfielders, but I also mentioned about left-backs and right-backs, and, well, I'd love to bring Biro into the club. And actually, he is now pretty keen on signing for... No, he's got no interest. Oh, I thought he was interested. Oh, he's just... Oh, my God. He's just signed a new contract. I think he's literally just signed a new contract. Days ago. Literally days ago, he signed a new contract. That is so frustrating. In the build-up to this transfer special recording, I've been keeping tabs on him, and he was interested in signing for the club. Signed a new contract 5 days ago in game. Okay, well, Biro could be out the question unless they want to loan him back to us, but I don't think that's going to be the case, is it? That's so annoying. One day we will sign him on a permanent deal. So he might be, off the table right now. But let me tell you about these three centre-backs. We'll start off with this guy at Serbia who is available on a free because his contract is expiring. Now, he's got a lot of pros and cons. The pros, he is great at heading. Con, terrible at jumping. Pro, good at marking. Con, not very tall. Pro, good at tackling. Con, not very fast. But is quite strong. He's got more pros than cons, I think, overall. He seems like a good defender. Still very young. 3 caps for Serbia. And can play centre mid too. And I'll be honest, there's probably a bit of a, you could argue he should be a ball-winning midfielder instead of a centre-back. But given that he's free, given that he's got good potential, I'd like to sign him. The only issue is we might not get a work permit for him, which would be difficult. But now he's got 3 caps for Serbia. I think the scout report may be a little bit outdated. It might be a little easier. So let's try and get him signed up to the club as a regular starter. Good. Finalise the promise, negotiate the contract. He wants a relatively decent-ish contract, but we are getting warnings down here about work permits. So we'll have to see how that one works itself out. But if we can bring this down to 8.5 grand, bring the agent fee down, appearance fee down, wage, future, let's bring it up, aren't we? Make it 10 grand a week to get rid of all of these release fee clauses and rubbish like that. And he won't accept it, he won't like it. 14, bring it down to 11.5, bring that down, appearance fee down. Assist bonus is quite high, clean sheet bonus is quite high, but we're not getting many of those, are we? Suggest we just need to get the wage down, don't we? 12 grand will do. Let's try and bring him in. The next centre-back to talk about is another young centre-back, but he's English and plays for Burnley, which means he must be pretty decent defensively because Burnley love defensive football. Paul Mito is his name, and I'll tell you what, he's not quite the finished article just yet, but I think he could get a lot better, particularly useful to us at 6'5", 17 jumping reach, 12 heading, and has got a very strong right foot as well, which is pretty decent. Good at marking. I don't think he's quite as good as the chap from Serbia, but he does offer a completely different play style, I think, which is quite good for us. Now, reports suggest decent Premier League player, potentially in the future, I should say, current Championship standard, but again, it's going to be very difficult for us to find Premier League quality players willing to join us right now. So, I do think he'll be worth bringing in. The issue here is he's a young English player. Cost is going to be a big issue. He's currently valued at 8.75 million. Can we bring it down to like 6 million and suggest that they want 21 million? Basically, that could be out the question. We'll cancel it for now and come back in a few days' time, I think. That's annoying. More cheaper and more experienced, though, is Brandon Cooper, currently at Swansea, who is 6'1", so not quite as tall, but still a pretty decent aerial threat, is resolute in his personality, can play with both feet, or the right foot is stronger. And I'll be honest, I think looks like a really decent player to have in the Premier League. Plus points for being Welsh and have Welsh international caps as well. I think Swansea, who are in the Championship right now and only got mid-table in the Championship, would be more than happy to let him go for that £5.6 to £7.2 million asking price. The issue we might have is wages down the line, because he's currently on 18 grand at Swansea, and that's a lot of money. So, transfer status, agent says 5.6 to 7.2 million, 27 grand to £34,000 a week. It's a lot, but I think he would really help strengthen our back line. So, let's plop 6 million on the table. Let's get rid of percentage of profit from next sale as well. Suggest it. They want 6.5 and then 2 instalments of 3.8. After 10 international appearances, 1.2 million. Make it 20 and we'll do 1.5. Only because I don't think he's going to get 20 international appearances, if I'm honest with you. Instalments. Can we remove that and just offer 8 million? Suggest. They want 9. Okay. Oh, it's not going to work for us, is it, lads? 7 million, 1.5, which I don't think we're going to have to pay. They just say no. Okay. How about another unreasonable clause, such as after 50 goals. We'll go 6 million, right? And after 50 goals, which he will never score, we'll give you 2.5 million. How about that? Let's see how they like that. That would be £10 million total. We could even release down to 5 million, maybe. Suggest, make the offer, whatever. So let's see if those bids come off. If we can get the contract sorted out for the Serbian chap, if we can get Brandon Cooper into the team as well. I think that deal should be accepted. I don't think Swansea are going to be clever enough to realise he won't score 50 league goals for us. I mean, if he does, they deserve the money, I'll be honest. They deserve the money if that's the case, but I'm not quite sure if he will get the money for it. Great news to start things off, though. Willy Kambwala has had his application accepted and is set to sign for us on a free contract. You love to see it. So, that is one centre-back down. If these two also join the club, the Serbian chap and Cooper, that's the 3 centre-backs that we need sorted. Mito would be good to bring in, but too many centre-backs spoil a good team, and I think more than 4 might be too much. So, reluctantly, I think if we get those 2 chaps, he's out the question. Oh, Swansea got back to us, by the way. I'd missed this bit, obviously, clearly. What's going on here? They suddenly want £14 million for him. Reject it. We're not paying that much money. I think we'll come back in for him later down the line. But there's no... Because that makes no sense. They just keep going up and up and up in their asking price for him. And as we thought, centre-back here from Serbia has had a work permit rejected. What? I don't really understand why. The thing is, I think this could turn around quickly. Remember Fabian Manhares, who we brought into the club a few seasons ago? He did not have a work permit, and we sent him out to MacArthur, Australia, and to Vitesse in the Eredivisie. Now, he's played terribly at both clubs, absolutely terribly, but he now does actually have a work permit to play in the UK. And so he's, if he wanted to, we could put him in the first team next season and he could play. Not that he will do, because I don't think he's that great. And sadly, I don't think the potential of Premier League will ever get realised. Unless, he has a good season elsewhere, I don't know. But he's valued quite highly as well, so that's quite handy for us. I think the same could be said for this guy. I think we can try and get him without a work permit. Half a season down the line, he might just get that work permit. So I'm going to persuade him to complete the transfer because I think it will work out. We've got a plan to get you on loan to get a work permit. Let's say that to him. I hardly think I'm a sort of player to be going out on loan. I can't agree to that. Oh, come on. Please reconsider. We'd love to have you on board. Please. His transfer's not happening. Right. Well, not worked out very well there. So I must say, a bit of a disaster to start off today's transfer special. Well, I say disaster. We've got a great centre mid. We've got Willy Kambwala signing for us, but 3 centre-backs who we can't sign. Anyway, at least Herrera is here now, which is fantastic. On a really cheap contract too, 3.4 grand a week. I love signing young South American players who don't know their value and come to the UK and are on very low wages. I am so happy with this guy. I mean, this guy looks so good. And I think he's already Premier League standard. So he actually comes in to be the best player in our team. So already we can get Satura off the first team. We can temporarily put him onto the bench. And what we can do is move into his place Herrera. So let's once again go in for Brandon Cooper. Because I do want to sign him. And I think if I reject the offer, I might come back in tomorrow for him. We could get it over the line. Paul Mito, on the other hand, I think is a little bit more difficult. Because they wanted like £21 million, didn't they? If we just put 10 up front, they come back wanting... I mean, this is better. It's 17 million, but still, it's a lot of money. How about 8 and 5 for 13 in total? Which they don't like. They want more. I think we might be able to find better. The scouts seem to have found this chap who plays in Peru. Alec, I can't quite say his surname. So Alec, he's got great facial hair. And from the initial reports, I'm actually seeing a decent centre-back. Now, 6 foot could be a little short, but very good pace, decent acceleration. Heading will be good, marking will be good, tackling will be good. He actually does look like a pretty solid player overall. Championship level right now, I reckon, with a full understanding, he could be better. But we're looking at cheap transfer and wages. The issue also could be maybe to do with work permits, but it didn't say likely get a work permit, which is very good. So, I know it's a blind transfer, but given that it's only going to be like, what, £500,000 in total, I feel like we are well within our rights to make a gamble here. Now, they want just over £1 million. We can bring this down to 350. That's £700,000. A bit more they want. 450. Let's say that, shall we, for £900,000. They agree. I mean, that could save us an awful lot of money all of a sudden if I can find him again. Where he's there. No, that's not him. That's someone else. This is the guy. I like what I see from this. Also, we were talking about left backs and right backs, weren't we? Potentially being players that we want to bring in. And Aaron Hickey would be really good, you know. He'd be solid to bring in to cover both sides of the defence. Now, the issue with him is he's going to have like huge wage demands. But on paper, he'd be quite cheap. So if we put 5 million down, suggest it, they feel they can get more for him. They want an improved deal. Okay, let's put 6 million down for Aaron Hickey. Hopefully they'll accept that, because that would actually solve issues at both right and left back. The £900,000 bid for Alec has come through as well. He wants to be a squad player, which is exactly what we want him to be. He wants to be a wide centre-back, and he's locked it in. He's going to be disappointed when he's playing as a ball-playing centre-back at some point. But again, 10 grand a week, I think. Drop that down, drop that down, drop that down. Get rid of that completely. Suggest. I think this could be a good deal, you know. I think this could be a good deal. Now, maybe you're... God, I've gotten so blind on that guy. We have no information on him really at all. I've done it though. I think we can afford to take some gambles like that. For £900,000, I think we can afford that gamble. They've now come back and said that they want a lot of money. After 10 international appearances, 1.2, 50 league games, 1.2, and he's likely to get both of those. So we can bring them down to like 750k instead. That seems more reasonable to me. But it will depend massively on his wages, which I think are going to be absolutely enormous, because they always are. And he's not even going to give us the chance to talk about wages because he's not interested in talking to us. Right, well, great, okay, thanks a lot. So when I said I had a plan, the plan's not gone to plan. Maybe let's have a look at the keep tabs shortlist that we've got on instead. Because there could be some good players on here potentially. Actually, there is. This guy, Siegfried Langer, would be amazing to bring in. I really like him. The issue with him is his wages. He's on 30 grand a week already at Karlsruhe, and I feel like transfer status, he'd want between 50 and 67,000 pounds a week. It's far too much. But this chap, Benjamin Ostergaard, is more affordable and is fantastic. The issue with him is that he's a ball winner, not a box-to-box, which is kind of what we want to play with. But we could always adjust to have a ball winner instead. We could always adjust our formations slightly. And to be honest, he does look pretty incredible. I'm a big fan of this guy. And his hairstyle as well. He does look good. Now, transfer status, 2.7 to 5.8 million. Decent-ish contract as well. We'll want to be a star player and we'll want to be playing the ball. Okay, look. If we try and get him, he's going to cost us a lot of freedom because he's going to demand to play a certain way, and to get him to get in our team, we have to adapt the way our team play a bit as well. But how much different is a ball-winning midfielder to a box-to-box? It can't be that much difficult, or different, I should say. Well, look, £4 million, they like it. That was maybe a bit stupid on my part. Should have gone a bit lower, but still, I think we could be onto a winner there. And he does want to talk to us, which is quite nice. Okay, so he is demanding to be an important player, which I think is agreed upon, but actually he's not asking to be a ball winner, which is quite nice. So actually he's maybe not costing us quite as much freedom as we would have thought. Suggest the promises. Brill. Okay. Contract is going to be expensive. We can get into like 15 grand a week. That would be handy for us. Again, it's going to have to be a case of just this is so frustrating. There's so many things in here that I want to get rid of, and I can't. Otherwise, he won't sign the contract. Basically, I'm going to strip it down to as the bare bones that it can go. He's locked in release fee clauses, which is upsetting for us, but that's the way it's going to have to be. And again, we'll get him down to 15. 15 is what it's going to have to be. He's happy with it. I'm happy with it. He's not quite the box-to-boxer that maybe we want, but I think he'd be very, very good for us, as Alec is also set to sign for the club to be our third centre-back alongside Camboila, Adam Thomas-Parry, and of course Alex. So we'll confirm all of that. Please be good. Oh, I've really gone out on a limb on this guy. I mean, is it... I don't think he's bad. He's a good championship player. He's fundamentally good. There's no real lack of... No, actually. Like, he's solid across the board. He'd be a very good backup player for us, which is kind of what he's meant to be as a squad player. He's not going to be a starter, but we knew that already. Actually, yeah, I'm happy with that. And he is better than Oliver Street, who essentially he will be replacing. So I do think, yes, we've made a good signing there. So they can both cover the right-hand side of the defence. We could do with a left-footed centre-back still. And my scouts have just brought through this Brazilian guy. I mean, if this guy's the perfect guy, he is not left-footed, but can play with a left foot. Now, leading championship player, I do quite like what I see. If he's on the upper end of these, like, 15 pace, 16 jumping reach, 17 headings, if he's on the upper end of that sort of stuff, I like what I'm seeing. Would he get a work permit? Likely. I don't know why he'd get a work permit, but he will do. I won't complain too much. Has played phenomenally the past 4 seasons. Well above a 7 average rating the past 4 seasons. And he's cheaper than other people around. Like, let's just put in, 1.5 million. What do they say to that? They say 4 million. Okay, well, they say 7.5 million, actually. We can bring it down. How about 2.5 and 2.5? Which they like. 5 million. Deal. I also do want to have a quick look at Brandon Cooper again. Again, he can be on my left-hand side. He's more right-footed, but can play on my left. I would like to bring him in. They still are putting this deal down, though, of 14 million. Can we just go back to... Let's try this again. 6 and just see what happens with that. Okay, so... The deal for Lucas Halter from Brazil has been accepted. The contract's big though, and he wants to be an important player. Now that could be an issue. Can we make you a regular starter instead to rotate around? And he likes that. Good. This is where it gets silly though. This is where it gets silly. 25 grand a week. We know that we're going to have to start paying more for players. We know that for sure. And I think 20 might be reasonable on a 4-year deal. To take him up to 31 years old. Hopefully in that time we can sell him. That's the appearance fee of 10 grand though does not seem reasonable to me. 6. Okay, we're going to have to try and ignore some of this a little bit. And he's not happy with a lot of this. Again, I think 20 grand a week is maybe more important. 7 on the appearance side. And he's happy with 20. If we can just get the 4-year deal sorted, he wants 3. 3 it is, and 8. Jeez, okay. It's not the best contract in the world, but in terms of how much we're actually paying for him up front, we're saving a lot of money compared to Mito, for example, that we looked at earlier, or even maybe, for example, Cooper, who we've not had a thing back from yet. Have they said anything here? No. Why is Swansea wanting so much money for Brandon Cooper? Because he's very, very good, that's why. Let's bring it down. We put down 6, didn't we? I mean, essentially, if we put down 7.5, essentially we're paying £9 million for him, because there's no way he's going to get 50 league goals, right? So, essentially, he might even get, to be fair, he might even get 20 international appearances. But they are desperate for the money, aren't they? 8 million. They accept that. Okay. That deal's on the table for Cooper then. Until you see his contract. His contract's even worse. It's so much money. And if we just quickly compare what we don't know enough about Lucas Halter to compare the two of them. Halter's cheaper. Halter's got the better contract. Halter's taller. We can't do an accurate comparison though, can we? because we know nothing much about Halter. Thing is, I mean, let's just look at the negotiations quickly. It's so much money. Like 20 grand is fine, but this is double that nearly. Like we can't get anywhere near that. 25 grand a week. Could be like 25 grand a week. I'd do 25 grand a week. And to be fair, his appearance fee, clean sheet bonus, and unused substitute fee, we might have to sort of leave as it is. To be fair, so let's try that. It's the weekly wage that's going to be the big issue here. To convince him to drop down to like 25 grand a week. And he's just not budging from 37. Like even 30, that's the very upper limit. Yeah, not going to happen. That's frustrating, actually. That's frustrating. He would have been really, really handy to bring in. And yes, it's difficult to say. I know we've got the money to do it. I know we've got the money to do it, to bring him in on that sort of money if we wanted to. But I don't want to just suddenly bring in a ton of players on a big contract. Because Brandon Cooper, ideally, would be great for us right now. 2 years' time, no. 2 years' time, not at all. And I don't want to be paying 37 grand a week in 2 years' time for a guy that's never going to play games for us. So this is why I'm trying to be a little bit more reserved and sensible to bring in young players on cheaper contracts like Benjamin Ostergaard, who is going to be fantastic for us. He isn't that conducive to the way we play right now, but I think would be very adaptable. Very good young player. Lots of under 21 caps for Denmark. 19 years old too. Valued highly already. Yeah. I think this is an astute signing. This is better to me than the signing of Brandon. And so this for me would probably move Galbraith probably onto the bench actually, instead of a Statura, for example. And that would then promote you to be the ball winning midfielder. I think is likely what we might have to change things to this season. To be fair, actually, I think having a ball winner on defend might actually be quite helpful to us. This, of course, does all depend on what happens with George Webster, because, again, we still can't make the loan offer. We're going to have to wait until the end of the month to make a loan offer for him. If we get him coming in, then we go back to the box-to-boxer, he starts, and then maybe we can start to experiment with a ball winner instead if we need to. Anyway, another centre-back coming in. Another centre-back that's a bit of a blind signing. Oh, God, Tom. I mean, the stars are suggesting he's good. And I'll tell you what, I actually agree. I think he is a very solid player, looking at his attributes as well. We have learned a lot about his player traits, though. He's got a lot of them. Interesting. Stays back at all times. That's good for a centre-back. Avoids using weaker foot, which is a little bit annoying, given that we are trying to get him to play on the left-hand side. But I think his player traits are fairly decent, apart from the avoid using weaker foot when he's got a reasonable left foot, to be fair. But overall, I think, again, a solid player with no real standout attributes, but no real weakness to his game. I mean, according to our coaches, he is our best centre-back, which I'm not entirely sure I agree with, but you never know. I could be completely wrong. He might be the best centre-back we've got. And so he will fill out a centre-back spot, won't he? Lucas Halter, who is currently injured for a little while. How long is he out for? He's currently out for 6 days to 2 weeks, so nothing major. Gets lots and lots of little injuries, but nothing major, which is quite nice. But again, that's another position sort of filled. And actually, you know, if we wanted to right now, that's a team good enough to go. Basically, a team good enough to go. Now, it is certainly a case of strengthening other areas of the team. So we could do with better backup centre mids, at least a better backup playmaker. We could do with a better backup left midfielder. And I tell you what, we could also maybe just do with one more striker. I know we've got like 4 on the books right now, but you can never have too many strikers. So maybe a left back, another centre mid and a striker would be quite nice. So let's have a look on my keep tabs shortlist. This guy could be perfect. Marcin Ocon is an attacking playmaker, but can play as that in the centre of midfield. Does look pretty good, to be fair. 18 years old, 25 caps for Poland under 21s already at that age. Looks really solid. I'm a big fan of this guy. Currently playing at Mainz. Could be £10 million. The issue is he does not want to sign for us. I think a big contract could maybe change that around a little bit. Let's suggest 8 million. See what they say. 8.5, 4.8. Let's bring that down to 2.5. So that would be £11 million total. They accept it. Good. Okay, sorted. There is one left back on this list, two left backs actually, but the best one is this guy currently playing for Hajduk Split, who could be all right. Again, 17 years old. Championship. Oh, okay. That's got me excited. I didn't realise he was that young in Championship. Why not? Transfer status, has no interest in signing for us, but could be on a cheap contract, or cheap transfer, I should say. So again, let's just hope that money talks. 2.5 million. If they want 3.5 is good for me. Let's get that done and dusted. And then in terms of strikers on this list, there are a couple. The best one being this guy. He's got 11 finishing, 16 foot. No real pace though. I think we could do with a lot of pace. We don't really have a great pacey striker. That's the one thing we are properly missing. And this guy's got 15 pace, but terrible finishing. So, and composure's not great either. So maybe he's not really much of a striker. This guy at Kiev, I think we did try to bring him before. The issue with him is work permits, and he just can't seem to get one. That's annoying, isn't it? And then there's a Bulgarian guy we don't know too much about just yet. We should maybe scout him out a little bit more, but League One standard championship potential, maybe not great. So in a more general search then of players, Mel Barton is the best guy that comes through. 16 pace, but again, rubbish finishing. Can we just get the finishing up? Pick attributes. Let's go for finishing and maybe composure as well, of at least, let's go, be reasonable here. Let's go 14. Potentially. And some players come up, but I doubt they've got a whole lot of pace, which is a bit frustrating. This guy's not really got pace, but it could be okay. Adam Armstrong, for example, has 16 pace. That's surprising. 21 goals in the Championship this past season too for Fulham, who didn't get promoted, by the way. They came 4th in the Championship, and it was actually West Brom who won the playoff final. 10 mil? They accept. Should have gone lower. Maybe let's get rid of the composure and stuff, and let's put just pure pace on instead. Pace of at least 15. How does that change things around for us? It doesn't change things hugely, if I'm honest with you. Ben Cameron is a regen winger who's got terrible finishing. And then we're back down to that issue, aren't we, of not being very good at finishing. We need someone good at finishing. I mean, a striker's not necessary. We don't need to bring a striker in. It'd only be just a nice thing to bring in, wouldn't it? So that's frustrating. Ocon doesn't want to sign a contract. He's only just signed a new one. When did he sign that contract? Literally 3 weeks ago. That's frustrating. This guy is dubious. He's the left back, this guy. The 17-year-old left back who could be great. Dubious. Wants to be a star player. Jeez. He knows what he wants at 17 years old. We'll give him that. Regular starter to rotate around. He's gone orange. Okay. Look, given that he's 17 and actually looks solid and has a lot of potential and already Championship current ability, let's tell him he can be a star player and let him get cross with us down the line when he's not going to be a star player. Okay, wage, 10 grand a week. 3-year deal, we can't go more than that. Release fee clauses, remove and exclude. So probably put that back up to 11 grand a week. Unused substitute fee, get rid. Leave those as it is because they're quite low compared to what we're offering players right now. He's gone up to 14. How about 12? 13? How about 12.25. He agrees. Okay, that's a backup left back. And Adam Armstrong is on, well, even if we did want to bring him in, I'm still not 100% sure on it. 43 to 58 grand a week. Not a chance. Get out of here. I wasn't planning on making too many signings today. One, because I think even with spending all £30 million, there is still a very, very, very high chance we get relegated. And when that happens, a lot of money gets cut off. So for me, I think this season, as we've just been given the biggest overachievers award, which is probably quite true to be fair, as we get promoted. Josh Tynan, of course, the best signing of the season. He was absolutely fantastic. I think even if we spend £30 million on a lot of players, we are still going to be so likely to get relegated, and that's going to happen basically. I know we've not brought many players in, we've not signed many players, we aren't spending a huge amount of money. What we have done though is bring in what we need. And the absolute minimum that we needed was centre mids and centre backs. Also, now the link with Man United has been terminated now that we are officially a Premier League club, and also the link with Colwyn Bay has apparently been terminated too. Not quite sure why. Because of that, can we now go to George Webster and say, make an offer loan? No. We're still got to wait for that, weirdly. And I think to make the point a little more, we are now officially a Premier League team, which is exciting. If we go to the season preview, 900 to 1 is what we're at right now. 900 to 1. West Brom and 19th are 400 to 1. And I think this proves the point. If we somehow stay up, that is a bigger achievement than getting promoted from the Championship in the first place. A much bigger achievement. And so, yes, we could spend an absolute ton of money on players. Will it help us avoid relegation? Potentially. But it's going to have an absolute minimal effect. Minimal effect. And if we go down and we spend 30 million and a ton of money on wages, we're going to be in big financial trouble next season. So, I think we keep spending to an absolute minimum. And I think we've brought in the essential players. We'll keep looking for one or two more, but we've got in the essentials. And that's all we can really do this season, I think, if I'm honest with you. And we have a young 17-year-old left-back joining us as well, which is absolutely fantastic. So this is a big transfer forward. What it means is that Corey Alton will likely be going out on loan this season to develop. And this chap, although being declared a star player, won't be a star player, will be back up to, of course, Josh Tynan. But given the potential that he's got, will be great for us, as he's going to join us in January. Oh, of course, it's because he's under 18. Oh, for goodness sake. Right. That's frustrating. I forgot about that rule. Well, this guy joins in January. Right, now on the 1st of July, contracts have expired and loan players have gone back to their clubs. George Webster, therefore, transfer, make an offer, loan. Can't go because of his first team commitments, even though they've transfer listed him. What is that about? He is transfer listed, I believe. Or is that just a release fee clause? It might be the release fee clause actually for him. I can't remember. It would make sense if Wolves want to play him in their first team because he is a Premier League standard player. He's achieved his goals of doing well on loan with us for 2 seasons, and I mean, let's just say we're going to pay all his wages, make the offer, and the bid for Webster has been rejected. What do they want? Just nothing. They're just not going to let him go on loan. Well, that's it for George Webster then. There is another centre midfield option. Actually, there's probably a couple of centre mid options, actually, to be fair. But this guy, Ryan Luca from Brazil, is more defensively minded, but is a playmaker, which is a position that we do need. He's 20 years old, caps at Brazil under 20 level, and is a championship standard player. And we could do with another centre mid. Now, I think he might have he's got a release fee clause of 7.25 million. I assume that's what they're going to want for him. We'll suggest 4.6. They want, 7.2. Okay, we'll accept demands on that. Let's bring him in. Because Juventus are also interested. That's actually quite a good point. I've just seen that. That's if Juventus want it, it must mean he's good. But we could just do with another good centre mid as a backup. We did mention that earlier on. So let's try and get this done. Breakthrough prospect's a good deal for us as well. Now, release fee clause are locked in. Well, let's just put these up to as high as they can possibly go then instead. Lock them in like that. Get rid of these future ways to make money, but probably give him exactly what he wants to make him happy. Which he's pretty happy with. A 4-year deal would be really good like this, by the way. which he agrees to. Great. Well, this guy could be good. But Juventus have also now made an offer, and I feel, something tells me, he might go to Juventus instead. Oh, the first big real bid of summer's coming through. It's quite low, though, for Erwan Fibralap. 5.5 right to 13 million from Leeds. He's valued at more than that, though. So we're going to reject it. And we're going to reject those bids all summer. As we expected, Ryan Luca joined Juventus rather than us. I can kind of just about understand that. So maybe another centre-mid isn't going to happen for us. I'll keep looking out for one. But I don't think it's going to happen. But as I say, we do have a really big team, and we have brought in quite a few players. Willy Camboila we know all about already, so, you know, we can gloss over him a little bit. But we've also brought in Lucas Halter, a really, really solid centre-back to strengthen the backline. In fact, I'm really happy with how we've strengthened our backline with Lucas Halter and, of course, Alec as well coming in. So those two and Camboila are great. We have signing of the season, in my opinion, Herrera. Absolutely phenomenal in the centre of midfield. Going to be brilliant for us. And then, of course, another centre-mid in Østegård as well. We brought him in too. Let's not forget that. We have brought in a really good centre-mid who actually, as a ball winner, might be more valuable to us than a box-to-boxer, which actually makes a lot of sense. And then, of course, arriving in January is Rocco Spadina, who is going to be absolutely phenomenal when he develops a little bit more as well. So although we've not spent all the money, we have a good chunk left for January, and I think come January, depending on where we are on the table, that's when we can decide to really start to splash the cash a bit more. Like, remember, January is still a long way to go. January, we've still got a lot to do in January. Also, it is getting quite late here, and I think I've said the same sentence like 3 times, and I can't quite remember what I've said. I'm getting very tired, basically. I feel like I need to just switch off now. So, we've signed players. I think it's gone well today. £18 million for the rest of his transfer window, which I don't think we'll spend much of, but mostly £18 million for January, which I think is going to be amazing. I think this season could be big for us. So I need to lie down because I really don't know what I've just said or what I've done in the past 3 hours of recording. It's been quite a while. I think you can probably see it in my eyes that I'm quite tired. So thank you very much for watching today's episode. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you have done, make sure you do drop a like on the video for me. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here and leave a comment down below for the YouTube algorithm. Until next time, have a wonderful evening. I'll see you soon. Goodbye.